Welcome to My Favorite CX, a podcast that celebrates exceptional customer experiences. To listen to today's, please choose from one of the following options.
Welcome to My Favorite CX, a podcast all about customer experiences and positivity from the world of customer experience. I'm Chris Holt from Holt CX Consultancy here in the UK, and this week I am joined by Janet Efere. Janet, welcome to My Favorite CX.
Hi, really good to be here, Chris. Thank you for inviting me.
Janet is here from the Adaptive Sales Group today, and she's an award-winning sales trainer and coach, helping the likes of Excel London, Action, Compassion UK, Currency Cloud, and Access Group. She provides enterprise-level clients across a range of verticals to increase the capabilities of their sales and customer experience functions. So, Janet, why don't you tell us a little bit more about how you do that?
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Yeah, for me, it's a mixture of old school sales techniques. So I was brought up on spin and consultancy selling and solution selling, which made sense because I worked for Xerox, which was quite a long life cycle and also very competitive. And also the really important one, we were always more expensive than everyone else. You had to be really good at selling. So it's combining those sorts of techniques with what the modern world is all about now. And as AI creeps in and becomes more a part of our world, which elements of that can we take and use to help us whilst at the same time still being both authentic and like really human focused, because people are desperate for that human connection. So with me, keep it simple, make it straightforward, don't overcomplicate it. There's too many people out there making it sound like it's the most complex thing in the world, but sales done properly is dead simple. That's different from being easy, but it is actually quite simple.
Makes sense as well. We've got the AI mention out very early in the podcast there as well.
Yeah.
So we've got a contractual obligation done there. So obviously the world of technology is do that one again. Obviously technology is very prevalent now within businesses of all sizes, especially the enterprise space. So you've already mentioned AI once, but how do you, I guess, augment what you do now with technology?
Yeah, for sure. And I think I'd recommend everyone out there had a little play with AI or get themselves on a course, because if you're just using it to compose an email, chances are you're not using it properly. It can analyze, it can make recommendations. So let's say you're doing a proposal for a client, you can put your proposal into AI and you can ask it to critique it and say, in this proposal, what are my potential weaknesses and what can I do to correct it? Or you could give it a prompt that clients in this particular space are looking for ABC things. How does my proposal meet that need? And what recommendations can you make? And then you can ask it to give actual examples. Now, if you do something like that, that's being really smart with AI, and that can help you put together exceptional proposals. But what you don't want to be doing is what I'm sure everyone listening to this has experienced. If you're on LinkedIn, you're getting a ton of dreadful outreach. Okay, it's not personalized, particularly if you're a Brit and you know the sort, where it's really Americanized and it kind of kicks off with hey, and then it finishes with worth a chat. And we don't like that, and we can tell it's not real, and we can tell it's not personalized. And I think the risk here, particularly at enterprise level, but it applies across the board, is if you do that, probably you're getting a response. I don't know what it is, I'm not an expert, but let's say it's between 0.5% and 2% response. Let's say you get that. It's not just that the response is small, it is that you are alienating the 99-ish% of people who've just got the most dreadful outreach from you, and they just go, you're lazy, you're not trying, you're not reaching out to me as a human, you haven't taken any time to work out what my issues are, my needs, what matters to me. You've spammed me. And I think that's the real risk, that we're alienating really good potential customers because we're being a bit lazy and we're being marketing, because we're being a bit lazy and we're relying on marketing, and AI is being used really heavily by marketing and outreach, and it's a little bit emperor's new clothes. Everyone's doing it, so it must be good. Not necessarily. Use it properly, use it appropriately, but don't just pitch and connect and do those. No, I'm going to say it wrong. Don't just pitch the minute you've connected with someone with a really bad AI outreach.
I think there's a couple of things to take away there as well. So firstly, it's using the AI not to do the work for you to start with. If you don't know what you're doing there, then should you really be asking AI to do it for you? But if you know what you're doing, then you're suggesting using AI in a completely different way, or use it as your coach. Use it to improve what you do. Use it to augment. And this is where, when people talk about, oh, we're going to be replaced, it's going to wipe out jobs. If you don't have the skills in the first place, then AI isn't taking your job, because you can't do that.
Exactly.
Whereas if you're using it to augment what you do and make yourself better, then you're getting cleverer with it. And that's been the same through every other technology revolution we've been through.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you a great example in my world. So, as you would probably expect, creating training content is a big part of it. So what I'm seeing, and LinkedIn is my primary platform that I inhabit, but what I'm seeing a lot of is AI generated training. And do you know what? It's lovely because it's really perfect. It covers all the main points. But Chris, it's so boring. All right. So it's beautiful and perfect, but dull, dull, dull. And I think where I use AI, for example, to help me create a training program is I might instruct AI. I'm doing a course on this to these sort of people, and they have these sorts of issues. This is the length of the training. Recommend indicative content for a course of this length, and it'll pop up with whatever. And then I could say, within each of these, give me 10 topics I should discuss, and it will give me that. Now, I am not going to tell AI to create my training, because otherwise my voice doesn't come through, and the discovery call I've done with the client doesn't come through, and those little quirks and individual exercises, I've got to do those. And that's where I think if you're smart, it is genuinely like having a virtual assistant next to you, or a PA. You've got different skill sets. AI has different skill sets to you or to me, but together, just like you may have a really brilliant teammate who's got completely different skill sets, together you can create something amazing. So I think it's about working smart, but AI is not fantastic. I did a proposal the other day for a client using AI as the starting point. There were loads of typing mistakes, and it had made assumptions, because it's learning all the time, which were incorrect. So don't go thinking it's like going to solve everything for you. You have got to check it just like you would with a work colleague, but there's no doubting it can make things faster. That was a really long answer, but I do believe that really strongly.
No, absolutely. I think that there's a few things there. I think, that at the moment AI content is quite dry. You know the avatars, they're pretty expressionless. The tone, it was interesting actually. I was playing around with a virtual agent recently from Zoom, and actually I got a little bit disturbed because they had lots of different personalities, and one of them I can't remember I think it was informative was the personality type. And I actually found the voice a bit too freakishly enthusiastic. And it's on the channel at the moment. There's a demo I do, and I go, I'm going to change that voice. It's annoying me. And maybe we're getting to the point where you could choose which voice, but there is something I know we'll have outtaken, or there'll be some outtakes from this, and I've cut out some of the flubs. But actually, I was at an event recently of Nice, and they've got a new CEO. And what I really liked was there's a couple of times he didn't quite get his prompting 100%. He flubbed a couple of lines, and he was human, and he was humble, and he was human, and it's like, this is a real person on stage, and he's also, the message is more important than the message is more important than being perfect. And I think that's the thing that, people will go on to various chat engines and use them to generate content, but you still need to put your spin on it. You still need to be human, and that's the connection people are looking for now.
And certainly in the training room, one of the phrases, if you've ever worked with me, you'll definitely would have heard me say this phrase. I always leave lots of wiggle room. So I have my course, I have my structure, I have all the things that I want to cover, but the magic happens in the conversation where someone goes, oh, this happened to me, or ooh, what should I do in that scenario, or oh, I think I understand it now. And you've got to have that space, because those conversation points, apart from the fact it makes the training alive and it's not just death by PowerPoint, which I've never done, by the way, okay? But those are the wonderful magic light bulby things you remember. I can remember from training I did 20 or 30 years ago. It's never the stuff in the book. It's things like a cartoon or an exercise we did or someone sharing, and those are the things that really add value to training. And yeah, maybe AI will get them, but I can't see that coming too soon. That's the human interaction piece.
I think I'm just in this conversation, I'm reminded to a couple of trainers early on in my career, and there's a lot of PowerPoint in my industry because there's a lot of technical content, or actually used to be binders. We'd turn up on a course,
Yes.
you get a binder.
Yeah.
I remember posting a picture of one online a couple of years back, and someone's like, oh, well, you never know when you're gonna need that. And I was like, if I need that binder, something's gone wrong for that customer and my life.
Yeah.
But I remember like a couple of trainers early in my career, and one, he was just so personable.
Yeah.
It might have helped the cricket was on, and he was feeding me the cricket score regularly. And around the same time, sadly he's no. Oh, I was going to say sadly he's no longer with us, but I can't remember if he is or not. So we will.
Sadly, you've lost touch.
Yeah. So sadly we've lost touch. But there's another guy I remember. Can't remember his surname. Lloyd. It was an Avaya acquisition back in the day. I remember going to the course, and again, it's all about personality. And maybe this isn't everyone's training style, but one, he swore a lot, but in a positive way. He was very open, and he actually said, "Look, guys, I swear a lot. I appreciate it might not be for everyone. Tell me if it's not." And everyone was like, "No, we're fine with it." And then he was really open. It With the work I do, because it's quite technical. As engineers, you want to know what doesn't work, because you don't want to be caught out by that. And he was like, well, this is shit. This doesn't work. And there were a few more other expletives and things. But for 3 days, he was really open, which meant actually we were better prepared for then delivering that product. And if that had been someone who was more maybe marketing polished, for example, been through the big machine, one, they wouldn't have told us anything that doesn't work. They would have told us it's perfect. And two, we wouldn't have been prepared for the real world and then applying that. And I think that's the thing. You won't get that from AI generated content.
Exactly.
But a human trainer in the room can tell you, the things that are unspoken.
Exactly. And also, I can tell if I'm in a room full of people, I can see if somebody's not quite getting something, or if they're confused, or if they're tired and they just need a break. And that's important too, because if you just go droning on and someone's not getting it, then they're not getting value from the training. So again, this is an experience thing. The ability to have a tea break 10 minutes early because a couple of people have lost it is important.
Yeah, and I think that awareness of so if I'm delivering training and it's technical and you over Teams is doable, but yeah, in a classroom you can see the whites of people's eyes. You can see if they're peering into their laptop and they've just got this look, you can quickly get around the classroom, go, right, okay, let's do this, and then you can bring it back and help everyone and talk to it. Whereas if you're doing that remotely, that person's then got to share their screen, which takes 5 minutes to work out and all that kind of stuff. And I guess it's being able to provide that different levels for different environments of training.
Exactly.
So obviously sales is one thing, customer experience is another area of your expertise. And we've certainly seen in the last few years, customers' expectations with the customer experience have gone through the roof. So how has that been, trying to train companies on the ever increasing expectations for customer experience?
That's a big question. I think the basics are still really, really important. So things like showing empathy. If you've had a bad experience and you ring me up and I'm in a call center and I go straight into filling out a form. What's your name? What's your phone number? What's your password? Da-di-da-di-da-di-da. If you're anything like me, you're getting more and more fed up because you've probably been on hold for 3 years and talked to a bot to get to that stage anyway. So, you're already kind of bubbling. If companies can train their staff instead, when someone rings up and goes, I've got a complaint, to kick off with empathy. Oh, that must be so frustrating. Thank you for calling. I'm Janet. You're in the right place. I'm going to look after you. Let me just take some details. Now, if they did something like that first, do you know what? All of the energy and the frustration is like a balloon going down. It just lowers it. And then you're in a place where the customer is receptive to being helped and everything's easier. So for me, that's one of the really simple things you can do. It's not expensive, it's not complicated, but it's just teaching people how to relate to other people.
Yep. I think it's two things there. It's authentic empathy as well. It can't just be, here's one of 10 empathetic phrases to say. And two, it's also feeling that the person you're speaking to is empowered to resolve your query. So that follow-up point of, I'm Janet, I'm here, I've got you, we'll solve that together, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, you may not be able to solve it, but that phrase, I'll look after you, or, do you know what, Chris? I'm going to try my best to sort it out. If I can't do it, I'll make sure that I'll do as much as I can and then I'll pass it on to someone else. But right now, my focus is getting your problem sorted out. Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird actually. This podcast, I never talk about my favorite experiences, but we were both part of a networking community, and one of my friends at networking community runs car repair, and he's like, you never want to have to use this, but. And then I was picking my sister up from Heathrow. Someone rear-ended me at a roundabout, and I messaged him, and I said, I've got a referral for you. And first thing he said was, please, not you. And I was like, yeah, it is. And then he's like, here's the details I need. I've got this.
Yeah.
And straight away, that level of trust, that level of, okay, my car needed a repair, but I knew at that point, he was like, I've got this. This is what we do. You're in safe hands. And I think
I bet you just went,
yeah, I was completely calm. I mean, I think a couple of years prior, I'd been like, oh, this is going to be a mess. And you just think of the stress and all of that. Yeah. And pretty much everything through the entire experience. There was one thing with a third party. It wasn't even them. There was one thing where like my hire car got swapped out halfway through. And I'm like, well, that's just annoying. But other than that, everything was just a stellar experience, and it started from that, I've got you. Oh, and I've lost you.
Yes.
Oh, I lost you for a moment there.
Yeah. Lovely. I know it paused. You sort of paused with your hand here, and I've got you. I know who that is, I think, but
yeah, that's
not to be shared on the podcast.
So, Janet, what we'll do is we'll take a brief pause there. We'll place our listeners and viewers on hold, where they get to speak to our bot, Holty, which I'm sure will be a lovely experience for them. And then we'll come back and ask you about one of your favourite customer experiences.
Thank you.
Your call is important to us. Please hold and you'll be connected to your next favourite customer experience shortly.
Welcome back to my favourite customer experience. I'm here this week with Janet from the Adaptive Sales Group. And Janet, we were talking before the break about sales training, about the human side of training, and where customer experience is moving to. And I thought that was a nice way of asking you a little bit about one of your favourite customer experiences.
Yeah, thank you. So, funnily enough, I wrote a post about this on LinkedIn. It was one of my most viewed posts. But it is such a lovely example, and I think it kind of gives you a glimpse into a world that not all of us occupy either. So my favourite customer experience was going to a Rolex shop in Norwich. So what happened was I was on a day trip with a buddy of mine who's really into Rolexes. Now, just to complete, open and honest, I couldn't care less. So I went with him, and I'm wearing probably a £2.99 Fitbit or a cheap knockoff. And he said, come on, let's go in the Rolex shop. And I went, okay. So if you've never tried to go into a Rolex shop, I'm going to explain what happens. So the first thing is there's a security guard on the door. So it's not guaranteed you're going to get in. So straight away it's like that, what is it, the velvet rope experience. Are you going to be allowed in? Are you not? Now, my buddy, because he's a Rolex fan, was wearing a Rolex. So clearly we qualified, even though we probably look, I wouldn't say we look like two tramps, but I was casual, let's be honest. So we got into the Rolex shop, and once we were inside, we had to sort of explain why we were worth talking to. And so he took control of this part. He said, well, look, I'm really interested in watches. I have some Rolexes. He rattled off some names. But my friend Janet is also interested in seeing what you might have for ladies. So they said, okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. So lots of sirs and madams. Everyone's dressed beautifully. And they show us over to a table. And sit us down. It's got a lovely sort of velvet tablecloth on it. And would you like some champagne, sir? Would you like some champagne, madam? So I had a cup of tea. Again, full declaration. Didn't take advantage of the free champers. So they left us there for a little bit. I'd say they made us wait for 5 minutes. Then the champagne. Well, I think he had it. I had my tea. That turned up. And they left us sitting there for about 15 minutes. Now, what happens in a Rolex shop is you are surrounded by walls of really expensive watches on all sides, and during that 15 minutes we were able to look at all these watches. But here's the trick: you can't buy any of them. Okay, so what they're doing, they're playing on some really strong psychological principles here. You want something but you can't have it, so that's principle of scarcity. So after 15 minutes, whatever it was, so she was addressing me. And she said, what sort of watch do you normally wear? So there's me in my really cheap Fitbit. So I thought of a watch I did have. I got it when I went to Abu Dhabi a few years ago. So I said, well, I have got a gold cocktail watch. It's got like a mother of pearl face and some diamonds. And this was the genius bit, Chris. She went, oh, very tasteful. Now, she hasn't seen this. It's just what I've described, just like I did to you. And of course, I sat there, and instead of going, you've never seen it, I went, actually, yeah, it's very tasteful, isn't it? Aren't I
so she's complimenting you and
I know,
buttering you
I fell
up.
for it. And imagine if I'd had some champagne, I'd have been even more receptive. So anyway, straight away, I like her. It's a principle of liking. I've been flattered. Yeah, I'm tasteful. So she says, well, we don't have any Rolexes available, but you can see this. And I can't remember the brand, but it's a sort of starter. So to buy a Rolex, you've got to buy a starter watch, which is about £2,000, probably to prove you got the money. And then you can go on a waiting list for a real one. So she showed me this starter watch, and I didn't think it was that great. And then again, and these are sales techniques, but it's psychology too. She went, I do have one actually. Would you like to see it? Okay, so she brought it out, and it was a £22,000 Rolex, and she put it on me, and I'm not ashamed to say that I cried. It was beautiful. And I'm sitting there thinking, I wonder if I can buy that. I wonder if I've got enough on my credit card. And then I snapped out of it. I thought, what's wrong with you, Janet? You're nearly making a £22,000 impulse buy. But what was so good was that it was an entire experience. Every single bit of this had been worked out and trained into these people. And it was beautiful. And even though I didn't buy one, and even though you could argue it was a little bit manipulative, actually I left that place feeling really good. And what they've done there is so clever. And by the way, if I'd wanted to buy the £22,000 watch, I'd still have had to go on a waiting list. And just because you're on a waiting list doesn't mean you get it. You've got to chase them. So
Yep.
The whole thing is built on all these really strong psychological principles, but it is beautiful.
And it's interesting there. It's all around how it made you feel.
Yeah.
And you walked out of there feeling 10 foot tall.
Yeah.
Your watch that she'd never seen was complimented as it was beautiful.
Yeah.
She'd also kind of shown you the starter watch, but
Yeah.
might have purposely been bad to then
Yeah.
tempt you into the one that was 10 times more the price.
Possibly. Yeah.
But it's all, there's a theatre to it as well, isn't there?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was a performance.
Hmm.
I reckon we were probably in there for about an hour, because probably, you don't, well, unless you intend to go shopping for something like that. I guess if you're in the market, you sort of expect it to be an experience. I mean, I guess if I was buying, I don't know, a high-end sports car, I wouldn't really want to just go in and buy it. I'd want to look at it and test drive it and all those other things. Again, if we talk about what we were talking about earlier, you can't really get that with AI yet. This is absolutely a human experience. It appeals to the senses. It appeals to ego. It's a process. Timing's really important.
And yeah, not been in a Rolex shop myself, but yeah, I remember
try it. It's good fun.
there was a time where Georgia treated herself to a Louis Vuitton bag, and I just remember going to a shop I just felt incredibly uncomfortable. Didn't feel like I belonged or anything like that. But even then, the way they treated everyone, to your own table, you want to sit down, do you want this, do you want that? It is creating that emotional experience, and the cost of sale might be quite high. You're spending an hour, you're providing champagne and things, but for those that do take it, it's a well worthwhile. So it's a really, we've not actually had anyone say I had an experience, but I didn't buy anything. But the really interesting psychology of a sale, especially as someone who's a sales trainer. You could easily put that into action with a luxury brand, or one that is aspiring to be.
Exactly, and you're right. It is very much about the feeling. And look, I mean, on a practical level, I'd be worried wearing a piece of jewellery that expensive. This is where my practical brain kicked in. And some people say, but they go up in value. Well, but they can also go down in value. And actually, because I'm not a connoisseur of this type of thing, do you know, I've got a very nice Fossil watch, seeing we're name dropping. It cost me about £300 and I love it. And that's just what works for me. And I think the fear of damaging it or being a potential target for crime totally outweighs all the other benefits.
I think that's something, when you look at luxury brands, there is always that consideration of, is it right for you? But there'll be plenty of people that in that moment, they're not thinking about that. And, whereas you got to the point of thinking, could I put this on my credit card? There will be people that go through with that. And then they don't consider that stuff until afterwards. I mean, I was very fortunate enough my father got me a Breitling watch for my 18th.
Nice. And
that was many years ago now. Far too many years ago now.
See what I did then? I started to flatter you. There you go.
Yeah. And there was a history behind it. So my grandfather was into watches and clocks, so it was a tie-in to family history. But actually, to your point, psychologically, I never got on with the watch. I found it, even though it wasn't expensive by to that measure at all, nowhere near, but it hung over me like I'm wearing something really expensive. And it also felt really heavy. And it became something that actually recently I let go of it on purpose because of that psychological hold. And I wanted to give it away because whilst it had the right intentions, and there was also some other psychology around it at the time, I wasn't doing it justice. And so it went into the window of a local jewellers who had actually helped us out, funny enough, similar kind of experience, that they'd made us feel really valued. And I was like, look, I've got this watch. And they're like, it will be someone else's 18th. It will be someone else's present.
That's really lovely.
I think I wore it 10 times in over 20 years. And it just used to sit in a safe, for your point. I was scared of it.
It needs to be enjoyed, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, and that was quite a lesson for me as well of, just because something is, doesn't mean necessarily it's right for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Janet, I normally ask people, how did it influence your behaviour? So, any more watch shopping after that?
No, I've not gone near one. How did they influence my behaviour? I am a sucker for a good sales pitch because so many people are so bad. I kind of get sort of sucked into it if it's a really good one. The other thing I do, and I'm sure this I believe is common to quite a lot of my sales trainer buddies as well. If I do get cold called, do you know what? I'll give them a chance. I won't be rude to them because I know how hard it is, and I know that particularly there's a lot of people in call centres who they've almost got someone standing over them with a stick, so they're not enjoying it. They've probably not been trained properly. The reason it's a bad call isn't their fault. They've probably not been trained properly. So I do give people the chance, and if it's not a great pitch, I try and be encouraging and say, look, yeah, it's not for me. But I tell you what, if you try this next time, or say that, or ask this question, it might help you. Then that's one of the things I do. But I'm absolutely a sucker for a good pitch because there's so few of them.
Do you offer to email them a link to a short training content video?
No, I'll tell you what I do though. If they're very annoying, so I don't know if you've ever been on the receiving end of a cold call where they're really just making people ring, bolt numbers. I have had a few of those. The ones where they don't listen, and I'm sure you've experienced it. Whatever you try and say, they're going to say something at you again. I have stopped those by going, okay, well, I'm kind of interested in that, but can I please speak to your manager? And they'll go, why? And I say, well, I'm a sales trainer, and based on your conversation, I think you'd really benefit from some sales training. So can I speak to your manager? And weirdly, they sometimes hang up. Who knew?
Missing out on an opportunity there.
Exactly, yes.
Janet, I think that we talked quite a lot about customer experience today and quite a lot about the art of the sale there as well. If people want to learn more about your work and how they could potentially engage with you for training, where can they find you?
Yeah, the absolute best place is LinkedIn. Most of my clients have found me on LinkedIn. So if you click on the QR code, there's an option there to book an appointment with me. So if you want to schedule in a one-to-one, just have a chat, have a talk about what your situation is. I'm not pushy because my whole brand is about not being pushy. It's about really authentic selling, and it's very customer focused. But honestly, just have a discovery call, see where it goes. Share your Rolex stories with mine. I don't mind, whatever it is. But yeah, let's just see.
Wonderful. Well, we'll put some links in the show notes as well, and there's a QR code already on the screen for that. Janet, thank you very, very much for joining my favourite customer experience.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks very much, folks. Tune in a couple of weeks' time.
Thank you for listening to My Favorite CX. Your listenership is important to us. On your keypad, please press a number between 1 and 5 to rank how much you've enjoyed your experience.